Welcome to Jester Brothers Cartoon Travelers. I can just hear jingle bells in the background because it is the holiday season, and we are kicking off a few holiday episodes, mateys.
Mateys. Yeah, that's
I
right.
realized I changed up the intro because I was just so full of holiday spirit.
Yeah, we're sailing through icicled waters. Oh, it's the Titanic. Oh no, I'm just kidding.
All right. No negativity today, my friend, because this is
Okay,
one of the most joyous places I think that we could talk about on this show.
that's fair.
And you could also say it's polarizing for many.
Oh, wow.
So, anyway, this is the podcast where we explore worlds of animation, and today we're talking about the Polar Express.
Yes. And I am excited to talk about this. Now, if you are a friend of the channel, been watching what either of us for any amount of time, you'll know I'm more of a Grinch and Alex more of a Who.
Yes.
But like before the growth arc.
Right. Yes, and let's explicitly say the Who from the animated version, and not any of the Who's from that live action version.
Oh yes,
I'm
yes.
nice.
Of course,
I'm making the nice list this year, I hope.
Yeah. I
And
wrote the list, so.
You know, it's interesting. The one holiday episode we did last year was Whoville. And
was it?
It was a lot of fun to talk about. We're doing a little bit more for the holidays this year.
Yes.
But I felt like Whoville, just the general Dr. Seuss verse, occupies its very own space.
Absolutely.
When we think way beyond the holidays, right?
Yeah.
There's something whimsical and different about it. Whereas Polar Express, I see as kind of the pinnacle of what people think of in terms of Christmas spirit. It's just like a joyous, good time. It does have some heavy parts, if you call it that.
I mean, the train's pretty heavy when it's slip sliding around that ice, that's for sure.
Yes. Okay. And you mentioning that just reminds me of how much fun this film can be. But not everybody feels that way. There's a lot of people that love this movie and a lot of people that really, really hate it. And I'm hoping some people want to listen today who are less of a fan, to be honest.
Oh.
Just because I do think that it's a popular take. And, you know, I think just because of the discourse around Polar Express, I would be interested in hearing people talk about it, even if I was not on the pro Express side.
Totally. I will also say that I'm in the middle of that camp. I appreciate a lot of things about the movie. I think a lot of things are very strange or awkward. And I know we're talking about the location. We're not really talking about we're not doing a review. That's not our style here. You have reviews. This is different. But I feel like just so that people know where we both stand, you love the movie, correct?
Yes, correct.
And I have similar issues to the ones a lot of people have. I think one of the things people point to the most is the uncanny animation. And though I do agree with that, there are times where it looks kind of creepy. I also think it has a very unique style. And it was I'm pretty sure it was the first fully motion, oh crap, what's the style called? Do you remember the
motion? I got it. It's motion capture.
Yes, it was the first fully animated motion capture style film. Or fully motion capture animate. You get what I mean. And I am a film nerd, and that's something that I can't help but be impressed by and find valuable about the movie, and so I love it for that reason. Tom Hanks is also like almost every character, which, again, some people think is really weird. I find it kind of charming. I think it's kind of funny, and it actually speaks to his versatility as an actor a little bit.
Well, before you say more about that,
yes.
I actually think this is the perfect opportunity for us to sail off to this world.
Yes.
Because I do think the animation matters. So let's take off.
Me too. Let's do it. Ho, 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 is what they called me in college.
Oh, hey, could you, once again, I am asking once again to please simmer it down for the holiday spirit.
I'll do my best, but I steam in snow.
All right. We are here in the Polar Express. The train is moving, and I'm very excited because it is a dream of mine to be able to be on this train, go to the North Pole. There are many Polar Express experiences around the country that try to take kids on trains, stimulate the experience. I
Yeah.
think that would actually be a lot of fun. I would love to try it one day and bring my future child.
Dude, if there was an amusement park that had like a Polar Express roller coaster that was like mildly intense, like we see in the movie, I'd go on that every year. That'd be awesome. I'd love it.
SeaWorld Orlando tried like a simulator, like a Star Tours type thing with the Polar Express for the holidays, but it was pretty low quality. I bet it would be
Yeah.
a lot better if somewhere were to try it now.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm all about practical.
So we can't talk about the Polar Express universe, the world, without acknowledging the animation that a lot of people find uh, very odd, right? Because if
Yeah.
we are choosing to move into this world, we are also moving into the animation style. We've established that in the
Mm-hmm.
past uh, on this podcast. So I do not take an issue with this. Like I want to be clear. I have never been bothered by the animation. I understand when I really, really look what people are seeing that's causing this uncanny valley sensation. But it's never taken me out of the film. I've always said the worst thing that a film can do is take me out of it, and
Yeah.
that could be done from a couple different reasons. And for a lot of people, that is their experience with this. It is not for me. I do not feel weird about the idea of moving into this world, and that is not going to be a factor. But is it going to be a factor for you?
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, here's the thing, right? So again, I appreciate it aesthetically as a film nerd, but like, you know, it's not Pixar. You know, it does look kind of weird. I think that a lot of the time, a lot of the main characters we spend time with, yeah, it doesn't really bother me all that much. But it's when I like look at like a row of elves and I see the uncanny valley in their you know, more generic models, like the Steven Tyler elf that weirdly shows up at the very end of the movie.
Yeah.
That takes me out a little bit. The puppet scene, which I love. I love that this movie is so whimsical and Christmassy, and then they go for like a wild jump scare in the middle of it. I'm totally cool with that. Uh, but it definitely is like, well, that felt different for the rest of the movie. Um, I think Santa looks interesting. So there are moments that I think are a little uncanny, and I'm just like, okay. And I also get simulation sickness, which is like motion sickness but slightly different.
Hmm.
So I can't play a lot of cool video games, which is a bummer because I like video games and I can't play like a ton of the most phenomenal story-based video games out there. I'm a side scroller person because that's all I can handle. I love Hollow Knight. I love Cuphead. But so I actually truly wonder if I was in this world looking around if I would get motion sick. But I'm assuming that that won't happen. I'm assuming that when we do our little magic transform into the world button that it'll absolve me of that issue, hopefully.
Let's hope that that is the case. That's an interesting question, actually. Like,
Yeah.
does the biology from our current selves transform in a way that is not going to totally give us the same types of problems? I would bet that you would be safe. Um, it's very funny to me. I have friends that love horror movies and won't watch Polar Express because it makes them uncomfortable.
That's a wild take. I'm not gonna lie.
Like
That is a
the
wild take.
well, the amount of people who really have such strong feelings about this film for that reason alone is interesting. I also think that maybe not everybody just likes a film that is all about the Christmas spirit and the joy and all of the holiday imagery. They're looking for something that has a bit more of a realistic take.
Yeah.
I think that it maybe is a bit of a taste thing at times because this is, you know, we've talked before on the YouTube channel about what makes a great holiday special or movie versus a regular movie or
Yeah.
special, right? It's a different set of criteria.
Oh, we should make an editorial video about that. Let's do that. You want to join the main channel for me to do that?
I could see that. Yeah, if I
If we
have
have
time,
time,
because
yeah,
we
yeah.
are running out of time
Yeah.
before I'm going to be taking a break from the show for the birth of my child. But if not this time, then probably maybe next year, or that would be worthwhile whether I'm there or not. Either way,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I
We'll
do think
figure it out.
it's just to touch on it briefly though. Um, if you're somebody who loves National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, the more cynical takes on Christmas that make you laugh about the dysfunction of family, not my taste, but there are a ton of people who prefer that route.
Yeah.
I kind of think that a lot of the time those are the same people that don't care for things like the Polar Express.
I'm going to disagree a little bit with you on that. Maybe
Okay.
the archetype of person you're talking about, that's true. But the Polar Express is like, it's not that pleasant most of the time, in my opinion.
Okay. Okay.
It's like,
Sure.
even when we meet Tom Hanks, he's a hard ass for the first time. Or I should say, when we meet the conductor specifically. We meet Tom Hanks multiple times throughout the film. But yeah, the conductor, when we meet him, he's like, it's like the Grateful Dead bus. You're on the bus or you're off the bus, and I don't care if you get run over by the wheels of this thing. We are going without you. We are not slowing down. Hop on the train. You know, he's not very kind most of the movie until, like, you know, you could tell he's playing it as a character, not just Tom Hanks, but the conductor himself. Because for whatever reason, it seems like the conductor is there to facilitate the lessons of the kids going on the journey. And we get that great hot chocolate scene that's very, you know, great song, very lively, very fun. But then we also get him being the, like, Santa Claus / homeless guy riding on the top of the train. And he's kind of got a hard edge to him. The whole train scene getting to the North Pole is very intense. We talk about sadness a lot. Like, there's this one kid, like an orphan or something.
Yeah, and I actually love that he's there because, in my opinion, it stops.
You mean the homeless
Polar
guy, not the orphan, right?
Sorry, I'm talking about the orphan.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, the orphan, because it stops the Polar Express from being a film that feels inauthentic. You know, we
Totally.
have a kid who, his thing is Christmas doesn't work out for him. You know, he's got all of his friends around, the other kids
Totally.
at school probably getting presents. He's not getting anything. We experienced that as children, to be the ones
Totally.
who didn't have any presents under the tree when times got hard.
I
And
always felt like a cooler kid as a result, but that's you know, I think that was partially copium a little bit.
wow, I mean, props to you. I was devastated. But
Wow.
listen,
You vain
that's
mother.
neither
No,
here.
I'm just kidding.
That's neither here nor there. But I do think that, to your earlier point, this movie actually is not just like pure joy all the way through, as I have kind of framed it to be. I do think it's more complicated than that, and I
Yeah.
think the world is more dynamic than that. If
Yeah.
we are moving there, recognizing that there is still sadness here. You know, this is a depiction of our world, but one where this magical train does exist and it does go to the North Pole. So, you know, I like that about it. You know, I think that's a point in its favor,
I
not a
agree.
detractor.
I agree. I think if it was just like happy-go-lucky the whole time, not only would the message not work, because our main character is very cynical and doesn't believe in Santa and thinks that Christmas is a crock. And then, you know, we've got the homeless kid, or not homeless kid. I confused characters. The orphan kid.
Yeah.
You know, I think there is something that could be said about, you know, well, that's still unrealistic because the orphan kid still doesn't get presents in real life. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
You know, I don't know if that's actually true. I've never had that life, but you know what I mean. I could see that being a criticism.
Yeah, sure. Well, let's move into what it would really be like to live here, minus the animation of it all. So I don't think that we could be a kid. I mean, well, let me back up. We could be a kid living in this universe, but I don't think that we would have permission to live on the train. Like, I think that we would be part of the universe, but if you're a kid, you are there temporarily and then you go back.
Yeah.
It is a one night thing, which is really awesome, but I don't think it would be fair to say that that's an option for us. Would you agree?
I mean, I think it'd be fair to say it's an option, but I don't think it'd be interesting, to be honest. Two
Right.
reasons.
What I mean is, like, we couldn't be a kid living on the Polar Express.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, we would just be a kid living in suburbia, and then we would just get picked up one crazy night. And also, I just thought about this. I think you have to be in some way not a well-adjusted kid to be on there too, right?
Because you would be willing to hop on a train in the middle of the night without any questions.
No, well, I mean, yes, like stranger danger. Hello, what are you guys doing? But no, I mean, like the reason all these kids are there is because they all need to learn some, some lesson about, uh, it's really all a lesson about faith at the end of the day, isn't it?
I actually don't think so because
Oh,
at
okay,
the end, everybody gets their golden ticket, and each lesson is uniquely theirs.
that's
And
true.
I would say the main character's lesson is, you have to believe in magic. But I would say that the others, that's not the takeaway. So
That's
I think
fair.
that it is more dynamic, but you're right.
That's fair.
I do think that they are being picked up not at random, but because they have something to learn, and this is their opportunity to learn it.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess that still works for us. Not knowing what I don't know, I wouldn't be able to say what I'd have to learn. So that's an interesting take on it.
Sure. So if we were a person, we're basically a conductor like Tom Hanks, I would say.
Assuming he's a
If
person, I mean, like, they're all weird magical creatures as far as I'm concerned, even him.
Right. Okay. I want to ask. Okay. So we obviously know that Tom Hanks plays many characters as an actor.
Yes.
In your opinion, do you feel like the film is trying to tell us that all of these characters are the same spiritual figure? Or do you think that is just a behind the scenes acting thing? Tom Hanks happens to be playing these characters. It's not canonical.
Well, I think that the homeless guy who's on the roof is definitely Santa, but I think that's about it. Um, I mean,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure Tom Hanks plays the kid too, so I don't think that would totally make sense.
I don't know if that's totally right because it's motion
Look it up.
capture, right? So he's
Yeah.
going to have to be anybody who played these characters is going to be approximately the same size as the characters that were in there,
No,
just
that's
because of
not
the way that the
necessarily
animation
true.
was filmed.
They only
No?
needed to do it for the faces, yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, do fact check me on that. I did not think
Yeah,
that the main
he's the
character
hero boy.
he is
Yep.
interesting. Okay. I
He
wonder
doesn't
how they did that.
Yeah. Yeah, those raised eyebrows of inquisitive looks of curtsy are all Tom Hanks. But apparently the voice is different.
Okay, that does make some sense. Wow, motion capture is interesting because I always figured that the animation is going along with how the actors are moving in real time. So they would have had to do something to basically shrink him. Which I'm
No,
sure is
no,
not that
no.
hard if you know what you're doing with animation, but
I mean, you just use CGI to complete the lower half of his body.
all right. I'm starting to understand how some uncanny valley could arise from this type
Yeah,
of thing.
they've got Tom Hanks's face on a boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so he did the Scrooge puppet, the ghost on the train, the homeless guy that we're talking about. Um, the hero. I just realized we don't actually have a name for the hero boy. He's just called the hero boy.
That is correct, yeah.
The hero boy's dad is also Tom Hanks.
Mhm.
The narrator is Tom Hanks. Santa Claus is Tom Hanks. The hero boy and the conductor.
Right. Okay. So actually, I think that it did answer my question. I do not believe that, as far as we are led to believe as an audience, that the hero boy and conductor are the same figure. So
No.
I am going to assume that all of the characters are separate. So if we're walking into the world, we are recognizing the conductor is one thing, the ghost maybe and Santa are the same. That there may be an implication there,
Yeah.
but I think the conductor is his own character. So if let me ask then. We're trying to decide what we can be here. Could we be a co-conductor with Tom Hanks? Is that fair? Or do we
Sure.
think that he is the only one that owns and operates this vehicle? Because we never see anybody else
Yeah,
as an
we do.
operator.
We see all the well, not as an operator, but we see all the waiters, like the hot chocolate people.
You are right. And we also see the
Yeah.
other not conductors, but the people actually driving the train or in the coal room. I don't exactly know what their
I
role is. I forget.
yeah, I don't remember either. But yeah,
Okay.
the
So
pilot, the train pilot,
okay, great.
Casey
So being
Jones.
staff, yeah. Or Casey Jr.
No, I just Casey Jones is the original folk tale in Americana lore.
Got it. Casey Jr. is a train. So
Yeah, that's
two
it's
references
based on
for you.
Casey Jones was a guy story. The Grateful Dead song Casey Jones, right?
I'm not familiar now.
Did you not have the same parents? Where were you when we were growing up? Casey Jones is a story about a guy, working class train engineer guy who was driving a train, and it turned out that the train was going to crash, and he stayed on the train and saved everybody, but at doing so risked his own life and died of crashing the train. But whatever he did ended up saving everyone else's life.
Okay, seems like Tom Hanks is the type of character that actually would have done that. He was
Yeah.
in there trying to save that train,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
it was getting close to crashing.
Yeah, it's very part of like old American folklore.
Got it.
That's why
Okay.
there's the song about it. And so there's the original folk song Casey Jones, and then there's the Grateful Dead version, which they added a lot of stuff that wasn't actually in the original folktale. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about.
Well, here's what I love about the idea of being a staff member. This train seems like a lot of fun to ride
Totally.
on. It's
Absolutely.
really beautiful. You know, when you're a kid, you see the Polar Express, you're like, wow, I want to be on that train. Uh, you get to every year help a new group of children like learn an amazing lesson and take them to the North Pole to see that wonder in their eyes. That's
Yeah.
also pretty cool. Um, and it seems like there could be community there because there are enough staff that you are able to, and who knows what you're doing when you're not on the train, because presumably the Polar Express only travels on Christmas Eve,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
actually is something that we should probably consider. You are likely living in the North Pole outside of that one night. Do you
Yeah.
think that's a fair? It is an assumption, but I feel like that's one we could operate under.
My other assumption is that they've got to have a lot of vitamin D capsules because seasonal depression does not appear to be affecting these people.
I think that's pro for
Yeah.
living in this world. Maybe seasonal affective disorder does not exist here. Um, okay. Do you have like a sense of the type of staff member that you think would be the most fun?
I would not want to be Tom Hanks because now granted, time it's so funny because his whole MO is like, we're late, we're late, we're late. And then at the end he's like, nah, we were never late. We have as much time as we need. This is magic. And I'm like, bro, then why are you like that? That sounds so stressful.
He is a very funny character in that way, very eccentric.
Yeah, but I think that him being my boss would truly stress me out.
Oh, that's true. If he is the boss, then that would be a bad thing.
Exactly, like he's the kind of boss, like that's a real archetype for bosses in the world. Like
You're so right.
you always think you're late even if we're well ahead of time. That's just your personality type. And I think that would be quite stressful to work under. So I think I would rather be an underling for one of the chefs who's doing the food and hot chocolate, because then you get to be a dancer. You probably like that's probably what you spend the most of the year doing is that dance routine and rehearsing it.
That doesn't sound so bad, does it?
No, I'm a flow artist, man. That sounds awesome. Like I get to learn how to juggle coffee and hot chocolate and stuff. Like hell yeah.
Let me acknowledge too how great that song is and how great the music is across the film. Like I think even
I'm gonna put a little asterisk there. I'd say most of the music is pretty good.
I'm actually no, I will double down and say I think that this is some of the best music in a Christmas movie. And I know people who hate the film
That
and
might be
still
true.
like the music.
I'm not.
Um,
I don't know. I mean, how many Christmas movies have that much great like? I'm talking not background music because I could name a couple Christmas movies that have a way better background score. You know,
Okay,
just like
I think
renditions of the Christmas Carol, for example.
that is fair. I am definitely specifically talking about like songs like with lyrics that you could play
Yeah, I mean
on a
that's
playlist.
fair, but how high is that bar really?
I see your point, but like the old ones like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, let's be honest, it has a hit or two, but it's not like a groundbreaking soundtrack in terms of songs. Whereas Polar Express has a ton that I play every single year on repeat.
I like the
Spirit of the
Island of
Season?
Misfit Toys.
It's fine. But yeah,
Okay, my whole thing is the song in the middle. The what's
sad
it
one?
called? Yeah.
I think that song's great.
I don't. I think it's so slow and boring. I think they should have trimmed a minute off of it.
It's sappy, but it makes me feel things, just like this movie.
Yeah, I mean that's because you're a bleeding heart though. For someone like me, I'm just like, oh my god, can we please get back to the freaking roller coaster?
Well, let's take the opportunity to get back to the freaking roller coaster that is the Polar Express.
Yes.
I think that we've talked through the train pretty well. Don't know if we mentioned you kind of have your lovely seating room that kind of
Yes.
reminds you of an old British train
Yeah.
where the kids are sitting and they've got their tickets and they're getting their hot chocolate. You have the room that Lou mentioned earlier, which is kind of like it's got like all of these dark, creepy props and puppets.
Yeah.
Like I guess they're actually just toys that were meant for kids, but
That's probably true.
And then in the the setting of darkness, it just makes them seem very scary because, there's something there with
Yeah. Well,
things aren't actually as scary as the darkness makes them seem.
and the ghost of the train decides to like puppet one of them to scare the living dickens out of that one kid, which I mean, like, again, I love that guy. That guy's awesome. If that is Santa, Santa's the coolest guy in this version. Like, this is my favorite Santa, assuming that that ghost is also Santa.
Well, scaring the dickens out of someone. What a great phrase for our holiday set of episodes.
Yes. Yes.
Because I don't know if we'll be talking about the Christmas Carol on this year's
Yeah.
slate, but maybe next year because there are some animated adaptions of it which we could play with.
Yeah.
All right, so let's say we're a staff member, a kid, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the Polar Express is taking all of these children to the North Pole, and some kid is going to luckily get the very first gift of the season or of Christmas, which
Sure.
is considered a cool symbolic gesture that Santa Claus bestows upon one person. Now, just like the beloved great film Miracle on 34th Street,
Yes.
this podcast acknowledges the existence of Santa Claus. However, we also recognize that for most people, it is completely unattainable, and many of us are never going to actually get to meet Santa in real life. So, by doing this thought experiment, this is an opportunity to see a version of the North Pole. Who knows if it's the real one? But this is the Polar Express's version. And I actually think it's a party. I love the North Pole depiction in this film.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty fun. The elves seem like they have a pretty good time. Again, some of the elves have like a weird, like almost New York accent. Like, why are the characters in this so like weirdly edgy? You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's very strange, but it would make me feel like I fit in even more. Like, I feel like these elves underneath their outfits are like lined with tattoos and like smoke cigarettes in the back when they're done with their toy making. You know what I mean?
Well, it is interesting. We do see a more cynical view of elves here. Like, you don't get the vibe necessarily that these are happy employees all the time. Like,
Yeah.
they have a heart. I think I remember one specifically that is like, this kid's going on the naughty list. And then they watch a video of the kid saying he didn't do it. And it's like, all right, we'll cut him a break this one time, but just wait, you kid.
Yeah. They're like, it's Christmas. Who cares? And I kind of like that because, like, obviously, like, that justifies everyone being on the nice list. And I personally think that the whole system of judgment is I mean, God, you make it so hard for me to talk about this philosophically.
Just talking about I understand that you don't necessarily agree with the typical depiction of
Parents wield the lore of Christmas traditionally to make their kids stay in line, right? If you're a bad kid,
Sure.
you won't get gifts.
Which could just be something that the parents make up.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't know for sure how it works. We're speculating.
Yes. And I think that system of judgment, it's natural. Like even in the origin stories of where Santa Claus comes from, Krampus, right? Krampus is supposed to come from the chimney and like steal your kids in the night if they're bad and like, eat them or whatever. That's like some classic like Hansel and Gretel, that kind of folklore. And that is kind of designed to be like, you better be careful or demons are going to get you. You know what I mean? And I do think that this is a nicer version of that. Kids aren't going to go to bed terrified on Christmas Eve. They're just going to go to bed excited and potentially disappointed if they don't, if they realize they were on the naughty list. Yeah, let us know in the comments if anybody woke up with a ton of coal in their stocking. One time I got a little coal in my stocking. I don't remember. It was like a juggling ball or something like that. It wasn't real coal.
Okay.
But it was like a gag.
Okay.
It was gag coal. But I like that idea that maybe some of these elves will be like, all right, like this kid's a circus artist. We're gonna put like coal circus balls. So it's like you are getting they're letting you know that they know you were bad, which I was. But they're not like fully punishing you for it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Well, this is interesting. So as much as I said I like the North Pole, I think their slide shoot system, like the mail system for all the presents, looks
Yeah.
like so much fun.
Dude, they could have a whole theme park based on this. Like they're really I think there actually is a North Pole theme park, but it's very low budget.
Hmm.
Imagine if Disney decided like, "Hey, let's make a North Pole. Let's buy the Polar Express if they don't already own it. I'm actually not sure.
They don't.
Not yet. And let's just make a North Pole theme park in like Canada or something and pull out all the stops and make it really sick. They could do a lot with this movie and make some really fun. And the thing is, if I'm an elf in the off season, bro, I'm taking that train on joyrides and I'm going on. I'm riding through that mail chute all year.
Okay. The problem that I am having is we only get to see one night of what a life is like here.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
it's Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So I don't know if we have enough context to make a super educated decision on the types of things that do happen outside of the window. Surely there's a lot of work that goes into preparing everything.
Yeah,
So if we were deciding to move here, we would probably be in kind of the typical depiction of Christmas that you see in a lot of media
sure.
of there's this huge Christmas operation that they spend 364 days getting ready for, and then they execute it on that
Yeah.
last day.
It'd be like the Nightmare
I don't
Before Christmas world with Halloween, except for Christmas, honestly.
okay, yeah, I can kind of see that that would be similar too. Yeah, I think it would be similar.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? You know, because for me, that makes me a little bit uneasy, especially because I think that the beauty of the holiday season is the temporary nature of it. And the reason that we
Oh,
love it
yeah.
is because it's not all the time. So if that is what you'd be getting into, I don't actually know if I'd want to sign up for that as much as I love Christmas and the holidays. And if
Yeah.
it's not that, I don't know what the draw is either because I'm trying to move to a more mystical place.
Yeah.
So I'm a little conflicted here because I love the film. It is so very Christmassy. Like the moment that you get to the North Pole, you see all the lights in the buildings. It's just like, God, this is what you want to visit.
Yeah, that
But is it,
huge tree, too.
yeah, it's like, is it where you want to live? That is the question that we are trying to ask here today. So what do you think?
Well, I want to say practically, just for food for thought. There we do see that there is a band in the elves. So we can imagine that, and there's the hot chocolate people, and I was joking about the dance routine, but I do think that that's something they spend their time on. There's Tom Hank, or there's the conductor, and he works on his whole shtick for the whole year. I'm sure Santa's like the CEO of this business and is, managing a whole bunch of stuff. Some of those elves seem like they're probably partiers and drink some Yuletide logs on the side.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm actually imagining that there's the population of this thing is huge. There's lots of different people that have different positions. So I actually imagine that there's a somewhat thriving community with a variation of different interests and skills that go on. I imagine that they get vacation hours. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
I doubt that they're just working 24/7. I guess that's the kind of magical implication. I mean, that's what they do in Nightmare Before Christmas. They literally just prepare every single day for Halloween every year. I have issues with that movie that I hope we get to talk about at some point.
Well,
Um,
we did talk about Nightmare last year, but it was for Halloween, not for Christmas.
yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. Which makes sense.
Hmm.
We could talk about it for Christmas at some point. That would be funny.
Yeah,
Uh,
spin it around, try to talk more about the Christmas world.
yeah,
I
yeah.
I would have issues, but we touched on it. We
We
touched
did.
on it in that episode.
We did. But yeah, so I'm assuming that there's actually a pretty decent amount of variety. I actually think that being one of the acrobats in the chef thing would be cool because not only are you working on the hot chocolate recipes and probably, I mean, you get to work pretty much all year on a single menu. That's like S tier cultivation for what you're working on. You know what I mean? That's probably the best hot chocolate on the planet. You know?
That's a really good point.
And it's
Man,
probably
tasting
not
hot
slave
chocolate.
trade like the rest of the chocolate. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe it is actually. Because, wait, do any of these elves get paid? I didn't think about that.
I mean, we don't see anything like it. Highly recommend, by the way, a song by the Bare Naked Ladies called Elf's Lament deals with the capitalist structure of how the elves have to work in labor, and I highly recommend the song to anybody who's
Oh my
listening.
god. I like The Night Santa Went Crazy by Weird Al too, but that's a little different.
That one's a little too harsh for me. The Elf's Lament song is still joyous.
That's fun. um,
Um,
I also like the Kinks Christmas song. But again, I'm the person who's gonna give you the more pessimistic perspective.
Sure. Well, let me ask you, do you remember where you are living right now?
I think I'm in Oregon. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
I understand that my brain's not what it used to be, but come on, no. Actually, actually, aren't I a teacher in the X-Men world still?
That was last I remembered. I don't think that you've moved from
Nice. Yeah. That's still lit. That's still so lit. I love that. I forgot
there.
what power I had, but I don't. It doesn't really matter. I'm sure I chose something cool.
And but behind the curtain, everybody, there's a chance that another podcast gets recorded out of order before this one. So if something gets confusing,
Oh yeah.
we'll let you know when the time comes. It will be explained.
I will say, not to bury the lead because I could be wrong, but I find it unlikely that I'll end up living in any Christmas place. Because Christmas is not really my holiday. I won't get too into it because I'm not trying to Grinch too hard, but I have issues with it. I'll just say that.
And what I'm saying, there's still a chance that a non-holiday episode gets recorded that we haven't done yet.
Oh, that's right.
Ends up getting released before this. So that's why I'm just saying, with the caveat, if you start to get confused, if Lewis seems to be somewhere else, that's what's happening in this confusion that you're experiencing at the moment. But it may be fine.
It may be fine. You know, I will say in general, even though being one of the acrobat artists that does the hot chocolate, that does sound like the most favorite fun thing for me to do. Assuming I get paid and I get living wages, I get health care, I get vacation time, I get, PTO. That's all very important. If we are all Santa's slaves in the North Pole, I gotta say I got some questions. But assuming that everyone's treated well and it looks like the community's pretty happy, I don't get slave vibes from the way that everybody's happy and stuff, but who knows? Maybe they're under threat. I'm assuming that's not the case. I'm assuming it's all actually very cool. I would say that, truth be told, it seems like a kind of fun place to live just for like 2 years. You know what I mean?
So I am in the camp right now of I would want to live here temporarily, but I don't know if I would be comfortable saying I would move here altogether.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I think I'm actually a no here.
Ooh, like total?
Yeah, like altogether. Because, well, okay, I guess I would move here, but it would not be high on my list. So, I would definitely not leave the Fantasia world that I'm currently in.
Let's think if we move somewhere, I want to say that we're committing to live there for at least 2 years, right? We're signing a lease.
I thought that we maybe said a year. In a past episode.
Well, that's fine. A year or two.
A 1-year lease makes sense.
Something like that. We're signing a lease for an extended period of time. Year or two is fine. And I gotta be honest. You want to know the real reason why I actually am gonna say no?
Why is that?
We joked about the seasonal depression thing, but I love sunshine and I love rain, and I think not being able to experience either of those two things for that extended period of time would really get to me. And the animation, even though it is fun, and you said the Christmas world is very alive in how its character representation is, the colors are actually really muted and dark throughout most of the movie. Now, granted, it takes place at nighttime, and it's in the North Pole, so that does track. But I think in terms of a living space, I think that would actually probably be the selling point for me not wanting to do it. Even though there's a Santa Claus that's totally willing to scare the living dickens out of children, which I support. I love that. Make more Santa Claus willing to do that. That is awesome.
Disagree, but love you for your spirit. All right. Well, I think in that case, we are not going to be moving to this place, but it was a heck of a fun discussion.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I'm really excited to talk about the next holiday special that we have in mind. So you'll be hearing that soon.
Alrighty. Well, thanks everybody for checking this out. Happy holidays to everybody. I hope my grinchiness doesn't wear off on you, because I want everyone to have lovely holiday times and celebrate however they truly love to. Because, it's all about celebrating the positive things in spite of the capitalist horrors that go on outside of it. Am I right?
Couldn't have said it better.